Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 in Flux. I am Peter, that is Connor. We talk about movies on this show, and we are concluding up Bat Month because it is the 80th birthday of Batman. Detective 1000 is coming out, or has maybe just come out, depending on when you're hearing this episode. And this is the final Batman movie we're doing this month, which is The Dark Knight Rises. We did the first two in the Nolan trilogy. We did obviously the four previous films. So this is kind of our epic conclusion.
I like how it took you 7 movies of introduction to finally conflate Batman month into just Bat month.
You say that as if that's the thing I should have done the whole time.
It probably is.
I feel like both are completely acceptable terms.
In theory. But no.
You are the worst. 7 Batman movies in. Obviously, there's some animated movies. Obviously, there's the 60s movies, or the 160 movie, rather. No doubt we'll get to a lot of that stuff at some point in the future, but for Batman to be focused on the main 7 live action films, and no doubt someday we'll probably do something else for Batman v Superman. It'll happen.
I make no promises to that.
But this is what we chose to do, and what our ending point was. There was a chance we might have squeezed in something else, but we're getting late in the month now, and things are about to ramp up TV wise. There ain't no chance. So Dark Knight Rises is the third and final film in the Christopher Nolan trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy, which is that's what it became to be known as by the time this had come out. I guess because 2 of them have Dark Knight in the title, it was the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
As far as naming conventions goes,
yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's fine. So, I mean, I guess I'll just get a spoiler warning. I feel like, you've seen it, you've not at this point. If you want to hear someone talk about it for over an hour, you probably already care and have an opinion in some way. So, spoiler warning is given. So I will start off because, typically speaking, this is widely regarded as the weakest of the 3. This is widely regarded as the disappointing one after Dark Knight by many people. So I will open the question to you, Connor. Do you like The Dark Knight Rises?
Yes. Although not as much as I remember.
Interesting. So it'd been a while since you'd watched this last then.
Been a few years, yeah. Probably maybe 4 years. I don't know. Been a while.
Yeah, it's probably been about that for me as well. 4 or 5 years since I last watched it. So yeah, I was curious coming into this actually. How would I feel after so much time off, coming in with a new perspective? Maybe without the because I was hyped as shit when this was coming out. Like I was through the moon looking forward to this. Like Avengers had just come out and that was fantastic, right? But I was still more excited for this. I just was.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, this actually stands as the only movie I've ever seen twice in the same day at the theater.
Really?
Yeah. I literally came out of a show and went straight into another one.
I get it.
It was a big day. It was a big day. So you liked it, but not as much as you remembered. I love Dark Knight Rises, and it's funny because I think from an objective point of view, I noticed a few things, particularly in the first act, that were sticking out to me more that I hadn't noticed before. That were like, okay, right, I can see some problems here. But I still love it as much as I ever did. Possibly more. And I have reasons for this, but we'll get into all that.
If you'd asked me before I watched it, just the other day, I'd have said I love this movie.
Yes.
And I love 85%, like unconditionally love, 10 out of 10 perfect love that 85% of this movie. And then I think I kind of hate the rest.
Is it one chunk of is this 15% like just one long chunk of the movie?
It's mostly the end.
Is the end? Okay.
The end.
Interesting.
The last 20-25 minutes or so. Kind of hate most of that.
Keep in mind, guys, this is a 2 hours and 45 minutes movie.
Yeah, so that's
it's a long one. It's longer than the last 2.
Which I never hated it before. I was always like, yeah, it's the weakest part of the movie. And I was never too keen on some of the things, but I was like, I still really love it overall. But this time, I don't know.
I love the ending. And I in no way think it's the weakest part of the movie. If anything, I think the weakest part of the movie is the opening chunk. And it's not that the opening chunk's bad. And I'm not talking about the plane sequence at the start. I'm talking more about when it gets to Gotham. Like after that, there's a few characters. There's some really awkward exposition. There's a couple of they have to set up everything that's changed in the last 8 years, so because there's an 8 year time jump. And there's a few clunky moments here or there with that.
There are some clunky things just in terms of the premise that even now I have that the idea that Bruce is this decrepit after 3 years of being Batman, tops.
It's not 3 years. It's 1 year.
That's what I said. Tops. I'm assuming there's a bit of a time jump between Begins and
6
Dark
months.
Knight.
We know how long it was.
Months?
It's 6 months.
Right. So you're telling me 6 months, and then he stopped. Right. He stopped and did nothing for 8 years, and his body is completely screwed.
He got a lot of injuries. He fell off that building at the end of the Dark Knight.
That bullshit. Stop defending that.
That took a bit of a toll.
He was running away at the end of that last. He was literally sprinting. He was fine. Right after falling off the building.
He could fight through the pain, and then you realise later.
And now he's walking around with a walking stick. He's hobbling around.
Is it ever confirmed in this movie that he literally never went out as Batman after that night? I'll think it is.
I'm pretty sure it is, actually, because that's the last appearance of the Batman. That's the whole point.
I don't know. This does not bother me. For whatever reason, this is one of these weird complaints that people have about this movie that they've had since the day it came out. And this is not the first time I've heard this. And I don't mean from you, I mean just in general. I've heard people whinge about this. I've also heard people whinge about the fact that he puts that leg brace on and all of a sudden he's fine. I get it. I get that that's not perfect.
This is the most because Batman of the three.
Hold on. So here, first thing I want to talk about. And this is the most comic booky of the three, by far. This is the one where Catwoman and Batman are standing on rooftops talking to each other. This is the one where it feels more like a comic book plot in a traditional sense. The structure's probably the most traditional, even though it's
the most directly adapted from any sort of comic.
To a point, yeah. It's kind of mixing a few things. Bit of Nightfall, bit of No Man's Land, bit of...
Yeah, but that's a lot more than either of the last two, which were kind of just the generic stories, right? They weren't not bad. I mean, generic for comics. They weren't adaptations of specific, it's this.
I don't think I like the use of the word generic, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. As soon as I said that, I was like, that was a poor choice of words. I can see you wanting to jump down my throat at it.
Oh, I will. So it's the most comic book of the three, and here's why I think that works and why I like that. Because one of the things that got into this viewing, right, after watching Batman Begins and Dark Knight again, is and I love Dark Knight watching that again last week, is I was worried that this one might suffer a little bit because I always remembered it being the most comic booky of the three, and it being the most sort of traditional comic booky in the sense that it has kind of some goofier, and goofy's not even the right word. It's not goofy by any means. It's just got some more tropier elements from comic books. Here's why I think it works. Because one of the big themes of this movie, of course, the idea of The Dark Knight Rises, the idea of the legacy, because you were talking about the first film is about fear, the second film is about chaos. Both of those themes do return in this one, but ultimately this one's about hope, right? That's kind of where we leave off in this film. And it's the idea of legacy, which is something that we started discussing back in the first film. The idea of legacy, Batman, being immortal, all that, blah, blah, blah. I think it works that this one's the most comic booky, because the idea is that at this point, Batman as a concept is now a myth. It's now a legend. It's the idea that by this point, it's kind of evolved into just being a comic book movie in a way. And I think that's intentional. I think it's intentional at this point. Batman does feel a little bit larger than life than he did in the last couple. I think that's actually kind of part of the point. And it feeds into the character of John Blake. It feeds into the characters of some of the kids that we hear talking about how, is the Batman coming back? Because one of the things that I think has worked better for me with each viewing is the idea that not everyone just believed that he'd killed Harvey Dent and the cops. Some of the younger people refused to believe that. They didn't, because they had this idea that the Batman had rules and that he wouldn't break those rules. That there was an ideal to uphold, and it's something that Batman himself never understood. That he was an inspiration to people and not just wasn't just fearful to the bad guys, right? And that's why this being a bit more schlocky in a comic book way actually I think kind of works. It's this evolution from what's come previous, and it's a kind of a meta thing. It makes less sense in the world in a logical sense. It's more about looking at the movies and how it's kind of achieved actual comic booky in the third one.
It's too big a jump.
Yeah,
I think it goes too far, and I don't think that fixes. Well, yeah, it doesn't really answer my concern but just reasons, right? Like I can forgive things like the leg brace. Like it's just okay. Whatever we need to do to get the plot going, fine.
Okay. I have two other critiques that I want to particularly tackle before I get to other things.
All right.
Because I'm delighted to say that after watching this again, worried that I might have went down on it over the years, I have come out of this wanting to swing. For anyone who wants to give me bullshit on this.
The worst part is I expected to. Because, like I said, I went into this going, "Oh, I love this movie," and I think I still do.
Oh no! This is terrible. So, number one complaint. This is one that I heard on the internet all the time when this came out in 2012, and I will fight it to the day I goddamn die. How did Bruce get back into Gotham City after he got out the Lazarus pit? Meh, 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 meh. That was meant to be as condescending as it sounded. In the first movie, he literally travels the world with no money as a bum. Right? Just drifting around the planet. And you want them to spend time in this already 2 hours 45 minutes movie showing you a montage of how he gets back to Gotham City? No. It would be a waste of time. It would be a waste of pacing.
I don't have a problem with how he does it. I think the time frame's a little questionable.
By the time he gets back, though, it's like a day until the bomb goes off.
Yeah, but I don't know how long it took him to get there. It feels like it doesn't take much time at all.
But by the time the bomb goes off, it's 5 months since they set up the bomb, and I know during that time there's at least one point when they confirm it's been like 2 months or 3 months since that happened. So there's theoretically at most 2 months for him to get back.
See, if you tell me he's got 2 months, plenty of time.
Yeah.
The problem is, it felt more like it was about a week and a half, if that.
Maybe there's like some concrete evidence to like really like dig out of the script.
Maybe there is, but it felt more just like more just an establishing thing that bugged me on this one more than the how it happens. There was something like this in one of the last two movies as well, where I was like, the timing of it didn't quite line up for me. I felt like it just needed something establishing to fix it.
I think at the very least he has a month to get back.
That's fair. Do you know what it's like? It's like in the last movie where Joker leaves the party, right?
Yeah. It's just weird.
It's just that weird, and like it's forgivable. It's fine, and I'm honestly I'm not too bothered about this. I'm just kind of saying how I feel. It just needs a little something to establish it. Like it's not a big deal. My video's frozen.
It's fine. Just keep going. It's been on
it. It doesn't matter really. It doesn't. But it would have. It's just one of those things that's like, okay, but it could have been really easily fixed.
Which is fine, but people act like it's like a huge plot hole. It's not a plot hole. It might feel stilted, but it's not a plot hole, and I will defend that. And this is not to say that I don't have critiques that I'm going to bring up, because I do. Like I do have critiques that I already said the opening like chunk of the film is a little bit clunky and all this. It's when Modine's character, the cop, the lieutenant.
Oh yeah.
When he's talking to the congressman, and they're like talking about Gordon and his family having left, and the idea that they've not seen Bruce Wayne for so like it was a lot of clunky exposition just kind of being thrown at me. Yeah. But the other critique that I wanted to comment. This is a bit broader. This one is I've heard people complain that the film has this problem structurally because Batman returns twice, right? He or to put it in the movie's title's terminology, he rises twice, and I actually will fight this completely in a genuine kind of like, no, this is genius kind of way. Because
hang on, I thought we were doing your critiques. What the hell's this?
We're not doing my critiques. I never said we were doing my critiques. I said I had one more critique I wanted to fight.
Oh, okay. I just wasn't listening to you.
I said I was going to get to critiques later. I just mentioned that one that I'd already kind of mentioned and elaborated on it. So if you can comprehend the words I'm saying, you'll be following along just fine. The video freezing is really funny.
I know, it's really bugging me.
It'll snap back into it, don't worry. It's just Connor's internet. So
my internet's being fine, thank you very much.
Oh, mine's just being fine, it's fine. Yeah, the big thing is people say that he rises twice, and that's really weird from a movie kind of premise point of view or a structure point of view. here's the thing. The movie, the point of this film is that the first time he comes back, he doesn't really come back. He comes back out of arrogance. He comes back out of ego, where he thinks he's needed when he's not really needed. When he comes, it's again, listen to Alfred. Alfred's speaking sense, right? When Alfred's saying to him,
"No shit,"
when Alfred's saying, no, like you're older now, don't do this. Give the police the information, let them handle this. He out of this sense of ego, out of this sense of grandiose kind of statement. He wants to be back. He's a purpose to live again, right? It's this idea of having a purpose again. And it's like what Bane says to him when he gets to the fight. He's like, "Victory has defeated you," like that moment, right? He's right. Victory has defeated him. And a lot of this film is about him finding the fear again. The idea that he only eventually climbs out the pit when he embraces the fear, right? And the movie really symbolizes this by having bats pop up at this moment.
Yeah,
which...
it's a bit over the top, isn't it?
I kind of love it. But
that was one of those moments where I don't think I'd ever really comprehended a feeling on it before, like if I liked it or disliked it. And this time, looking at it with a more critical eye, I was like, really? You really felt you needed that?
I'm okay with it because the first time he tries to jump out, he's desperate. The second time, he's out of anger. It's not until the third time where he embraces why he actually needs to do it. He kind of accepts that it's not just about him.
It's coming full circle.
It's coming full circle.
There's a lot of things in this trilogy.
Yeah. It's about embracing the fear again, and that's kind of... Because I think one of the things is the problem with Bruce as a character before he comes back and goes through this metamorphosis, as it were, is that he's lost that fear. He's also lost the drive to do anything, or you could argue that he is fearful that he's obsolete, and he does it for the wrong reasons. And that's why ultimately, when he realizes why he needs to come back, once the problems got into this ridiculous, scale in the second half of the film, and he does need to come back, and the Batman is needed again, because even Gordon is wrong at the start of the film, and Gordon says he must come back, he must exist. Gordon's almost wrong at that point, but it's true in the second half of the film. He is needed. The coming back twice actually is important, because the first time he does it for the wrong reasons, and he gets slapped down for it, and it almost loses everything because of that. And it's funny actually. There's a line from Miranda Tate, air quotes, when he's showing her the device, the reactor, right, for the clean energy program. And even though she turns out to be one of the villains, she actually sums up the end of the last film and how it's wrong really well. Where she says, "Oh, you want to help them heal the world, but you won't trust the world to actually help." Right? Yeah. That's the end of Dark Knight. He doesn't, he's willing to make sacrifices and do this, but he's not willing to let them trust. And that's kind of again become full circle, because by the end of the film, he trusts the police force.
Gordon's complicit in that as well.
And Gordon's complicit, yeah. So by the end of the film, they've both kind of learned their mistake, and they worked with the literal army of the police force to save the day.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of defending critiques that other people have.
Is this you go defend something?
Yeah, I'll defend something.
Okay, oh, there you go.
So when Bruce returns to Gotham,
yes,
and it's when Gordon's out walking the ice, and there's the big gasoline bat.
I love this
and people
moment.
Are like,
love it.
No, I do too. I do. And I always hear people go, "Oh, why did he waste time doing all this bullshit?" I'm like, "What's he doing?" I'm like,
"Hope."
Did you guys not pay attention to this whole theatricality? That's like the whole thing.
But first film, theatricality is a powerful means of deception. In this case, though, what he's learned is that it's a powerful inspiration of hope. It's like because the scene it cuts to is the son of Modine's character running to the window. If I have any critiques about this, is that I wish the orphan that was speaking to Blake that we see a couple of times also saw this. I wish we got his reaction. The idea that hope has returned and the city knows that they're not alone anymore. Because that's the thing. Up until this point in the film, like they're abandoned, because there's that scene where the president's speaking on the radio and Gordon's like, "Oh, it means we're on our own. Gotham is on its own. No one can do anything." And this is like, "No, you're not on your own. Batman's here."
No, I know,
it's beautiful.
But this is one of those things that people always complain about, right?
This is like one of my top 5 moments of the entire trilogy. Suck it, the lot of you. I'm not having this.
Oh, I'm with you on this one, because I've got problems. We'll get to those.
Yeah,
but this ain't one of them.
I love this.
Wrong on this one.
This moment's fantastic. And do you know what I love?
I can defend this movie too.
Do you know what I love about the first half as well? Is that as much as Batman's doing it for the wrong reasons, it doesn't change the fact that I'm still kind of fist pumping for all of his comeback stuff. Because there's the moment where the lights go out in the tunnel when the bike chase is happening, and you get the sense that even not all the cops believe he did what they said he did, because the old cop's like, "Oh, you're in for a show tonight, son."
Yeah, and he pulls out and goes, "What the hell are you playing at, kid? Come on."
But do you know what I love about that moment, right? So it's really cool when he comes in. I love, again, going back to it's more comic booky, there's that shot where he walks in when the guy's off the bike, and you just, like, the feet come in with the cape, and you just hear the like, as he walks in, the whimpering sound. And it feels super like, no, Batman's back. It feels like he's got even more presence than he's ever had before. But the moment I love is after he's chased down the bike with the tablet, and it's finished its transfer, and he's and all the cops are chasing him. Like, this scene represents his ego, because there's literally like 30 cop cars chasing him, and it's basically him thinking, I'm good enough to deal with this. And there's almost a smirk in his face. See when he gets like surrounded and he's there with the bike and he's looking around and he's sort of like planning his escape with the what do you call it, the big truck with the cars going on it. They have a name? I don't know if they have a name. You know what I mean?
Know.
The truck that carries like 8 cars at a time or whatever. And he shoots down the thing. I
assume they have a name.
You assume. It's not just a tow truck. A tow truck's just a...
It's more like a carrier truck.
Yeah.
But that's not like a thing.
Yeah. So someone in the auto industry, please fill us in. So he, it's like there's this moment where he looks around and he sees everyone around him, and I don't know if he actually does, but I almost every time I watch this, I think I see a kind of a smirk, like he knows he's going to get out of this, like he's not in any danger.
I don't think there is, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, like I almost sense
in the body language.
Yeah, in the body language, yeah. And of course he leads him on a chase, and then he comes out with the bat, the new flying, this movie's better than the Batwing. And it's it's this demonstration of ego. It's like and it's not ego in the traditional sense where I don't think it's necessarily he thinks he's great. It's ego in the sense that he thinks that this is all required and that he's important.
Yeah.
And it's kind of beautiful. And it's not so much that Blake is wrong when he says that the Batman needs to come back and what the Batman stood for is important. But it's this idea that something that Alfred's been telling him throughout all 3 films is that Bruce Wayne's important too, and maybe that's what Bruce should have heard from Blake is that no, he should, because they've stopped funding the orphanage. Why have they stopped funding the orphanage? Oh, because there's no money from Wayne Enterprises.
Because Bruce pissed it all away.
In an attempt to save the world. Let's just be clear. Like it was.
Yeah, but I mean, not very responsibly for his company.
Yeah, and it's very notable as well that the thing works, but he realised that it could be turned into a weapon because some scientist did that. So he shut it all down and hid it away so no one could get to it. Yeah. It kind of speaks to, again, it's that idea of not trusting the world to actually use the thing.
It is, and it's one of those where pretty much every scientific advancement ever can be used for something bad, right? And it's
I know I've been thinking of trying to turn a post-it note into a murder weapon for you someday, but I've not quite sussed it yet.
I know how to do it. I'm not going to tell you, but I know how to do it.
And just shoving tons of them down your throat to choke doesn't count. That's not using the technology. That's just, you could do it with any old paper.
All right, I'll find a different way.
It has to be like just the fact that there's the swipe of glue at the back. That has to be.
I've got it.
That has to be vital to the death.
I got something, but I'm not going to share, obviously.
Obviously.
That would be irresponsible.
Yes. So, where was I?
Hold on.
But yeah, I've lost track of where it was. But yeah, so I think there's some.
Oh, are you on about Bruce Wayne being needed?
Yeah, Bruce Wayne being needed, right? So this idea, and obviously at the end of the film, he kind of fuses this. But I think, like, to me, actually, that's why the moment where he tells Gordon who he is essentially kind of works even better for me now. It's the idea that, yeah, like, as much as the idea that Bruce Wayne was the mask and the back. Because here's the thing, and here's where I think we're going to differ on the ending, is that unlike the comic books, this can end. This can have an ending for Batman as a character, or for more specifically as Bruce Wayne as a character, right? That's something the comics are never going to truly do. They might do it for a while, and then they'll retcon it, or they'll bring it back, or whatever.
We had hopes for a while, and then
and
it didn't happen.
That's why the ending, because obviously whenever you talk about Batman as a character, now he'll never give up being Batman. That's not who he is. The story completes with him giving it up, and you never do that in the comics because they can never end it. But in a movie trilogy that has a definitive ending, you can do that. And I think that's where maybe some of our disagreements about the ending are going to come in. But that's okay. But yes, so Batman ultimately, like, I think the reason why this still might be my favourite of the 3, and I know that's controversial to many people, but the reason why this still might be my favourite of the 3, despite any other faults you can lavish at it, is I do think it's the perfect conclusion to this trilogy, and I do think Bruce's journey is the best it is in all 3 films. As good as it is in the other 2. Because one of the things that the other Batman films didn't have was a proper arc for Batman, for him as a character, right? They almost seem to want to ignore him in favour of the villains. All three of these films have things to say about his character and about what it means for him to exist in the world. I think from a personal point of view, this has his best story and his best arc.
Okay.
And I think for someone like Matt, who obviously we do the comics podcast with, who hates Because Batman, as much as there's a little bit Because Batman in his attitude early on, that's kind of what it is. He's kind of evolved to a point where he's like, because Batman, I'll do it because I'm Batman, damn it. He fails. Yep. He learns. He basically learns humility in failing, and that gives him the fire to fight back. So I think there's lots of things. So as much as you're saying there's some Because Batman early on, I think it's almost intentional because that's his attitude.
Fair enough. I'm not going to fight too much on that. The Because Batman stuff is very, very low down on my list of concerns. That's in the elements that, yeah, I can overlook that.
Sure. I'll go on then. Get your complaint about the ending out of the way.
There's multiple. It's pretty much the entire last 20 minutes, like I said. I think I hate. Pretty much everything from the Talia reveal.
I'll give you Talia. Talia is the weakest part of this movie. I will not defend Talia.
I like the concept of having Talia in there. I think I think there's a better way to do it. Especially the concept of legacy in this movie, right?
Yeah.
I understand the point of, oh no, we can play with the legacy through that, but we were already getting that in Bane. Like we were getting the Bane is the League of Shadows now. That is the legacy, whether Raz wanted that or not.
It's all about being full circle. I wonder if it's almost victim as well, just to the idea that, because he has a daughter in the comics, we have to do the daughter. Like, if we're going to bring the League back, we have to do the daughter because it's a comic book thing.
Maybe.
I wonder if that's almost it. I know I agree, Talia is the worst part. Her death is not a great moment, and...
Do you know what? I laughed at part of her death scene this time.
Mm-hmm.
Because after she dies... The bomb has, what, a minute and a half going on the clock?
Yeah.
And they all just stand around there looking at her, like looking at the dead body. I'm like, what are you doing? Go get the bomb, you idiots.
That's fair. I would fight you in that. Natalia's the worst part.
And it's not that she's just bad for that character, it's that she actively ruins Bane, who is, up until that point, maybe my favourite part of the movie. Because I love Bane in this movie.
I love Bane in this movie
up until that point. I think Bane is fantastic. His attitude, his tactical sense, his physical prowess as well. Obviously,
I do not agree that she ruins Bane. I agree that she takes the movie away from him. There's a difference.
She undermines the point of him, though. The whole idea of Bane's been behind all of this and doing all, and it's like, well, no, it's just been her idea the whole time. Bane's just been the muscle, essentially. He's still got the charisma that he's got. Don't be wrong, but all the tactical planning elements that I like about this version of Bane. That no, he is smart. He is outthinking the Bat. Is gone.
I agree. This is the weakest part of the film. Is revealing that she's behind everything and her death, and kind of just how late the reveal is, and her inclusion in general is the weakest part. Like, you're not gonna get an argument out of that from me. She's kind of the, she's basically the Katie Holmes of the movie. Not in the exact same way, but she's kind of filling that slot.
Still a better actress.
Still a better actress for sure. But let's get you mentioned Bane. Let's talk about Bane, because I feel like people like to complain about a certain thing about Bane.
Is this going to be the voice? I know people don't like the voice, but those people are idiots.
The voice is the best part.
Like, do you know what? I always get people tell me that.
It's not as good with a bottle. I can do it with a can. Hold on, give me a can. I got an empty can. You think darkness is your ally? I'm really adopted the dark. You were born in it, molded by it. By the time I saw light, I was already a man. How's that? Is that okay?
It's not bad. Yeah. People tell me they can't understand what he's saying.
Oh no, I don't get that at all.
And I can't comprehend. Are your ears full of shite?
I came out of that movie like almost quoting that entire speech. Like,
it's so memorable, and it wouldn't be memorable if you couldn't hear the damn thing.
I love Bane's voice. Now, admittedly, yes, as an adaptation, this is not comic book Bane. He's not Latino. He's not wearing a literally
luchador mask. Yeah.
But he's imposing. He has this voice, this presence, Every scene he's in, he's fantastic. He has this impossible task of following up Joker. Joker's the best villain in the trilogy. I am not going to argue with that one bit. Bane's my second favourite, though.
I think if the ending had landed, Bane could have been the best.
Oh, that's a bold claim.
That's how much I love it. I love even the way he he has he stands the same way police officers do. I don't know if you with the thumbs in the straps on the body armor. That's how police officers stand. And it's just one of those little touches that it's like, no, that's authoritative, right?
He's great. Yeah, I think he's great. He's got presence. I mean, that opening scene, you know, you're a big guy, for you. All those words, perhaps you wonder why you would shoot a man before throwing him out of an airplane. Like, all that stuff is great. And
that was one of those moments where I'm like, oh, I haven't seen this in 4 or 5 years. And it was that line where I went, oh, I love this movie.
And
this is why I was so excited for the first 2 hours and plus of this movie. I'm like, I love this. I love this.
I love Bane in this movie, and I think his presence. There's so many. He turns everything, and he is a bit more comic booky. But that goes back into what I was saying earlier about this being the comic booky one, where even the villain we're getting to more sort of fantastical ideas, and not to an extreme degree necessarily, but just in the sense that everything feels a bit more theatrical.
It's huge in comparison to Joker was like, hey, here's 2 boats. Well, ships, to be fair. But Bane's like, nah, screw this. I got the whole city, and I got this.
Yeah, it's escalated with the trilogy. Each one's gotten more bigger and
as Bane throws back at him, the theatricality doesn't work on him. He's got it.
I believe the exact line, theatricality is a good tool against the uninitiated, but we are initiated, Mr. Wayne, or something like that.
It's aren't we, Bruce?
Aren't we, Bruce? Yes.
Yeah, we are initiated, aren't we, Bruce?
And I'm not going to lie. Like, the moment that he does the breaking the bat, where he holds him up over his head, because this is the thing, going into this movie in 2012, I was super pumped, right? And I was excited to what Nolan would do with Bane and what this version of Bane would be. I never thought he would go so far to recreate that moment. I didn't think we were going to get the actual backbreaker. Now, I don't think he actually breaks his back, because one of people's complaints of this movie is that, he heals from a broken back. I don't think he actually did. I don't think he's actually got a broken back, literally.
I think he shifts some stuff around.
Yeah, he shifted a plate. I think that's what he says, right? He says you get a plate out of a thing or whatever.
I took that almost to be similar to a dislocation.
Yeah.
Like it's popped out of place. You can kind of knock it back in, and it's gonna bloody hurt, but you'll be all right.
Is that scientifically accurate? Is this a thing that can happen? I don't know. I don't care.
No, I'm with you on this.
I don't care.
I will tell you now, that sequence, not just the background, everything under under the Wayne building there.
There's so much music, and then that scene, it just drops.
Silent.
It's silent.
That scene is hands down my favorite scene of the trilogy.
And every single one in the room, all of his henchmen and Catwoman, all watch this knowing that Batman's going to lose.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And we get the speech, we get the shadows betray you because they belong to me. I love this sequence. Everything from start to finish is beautiful. And I pop so hard. I almost stood up and cheered when the bat breaking happened.
You're celebrating your hero being decimated, but
because he has to come back because the rise after this is going to be beautiful.
I know, I'm with you, but this scene, my favorite scene in the trilogy. I love it so much. It's perfect.
I can't argue about that too much. And hey, I want to talk about some of the build up to this. I love everything in the tunnels with him leading up to this fight. See when the gunman's firing and it's lighting up the tunnel, and you just see flashes of him popping towards him. It is the most Batman scene ever. It's beautiful.
And I think that's part of what I love about the fight as well. It's no, this is Bane. Batman's full on punching. We've seen how his punches take down dudes. He's full on giving it, and Bane just takes it. He's just he's not trying to get out of the way. He's not blocking it. He's just taking the punches in the chest and going, all right, then what else you got?
No, it's good. It's fantastic. And it's funny because one of the complaints with Batman Begins is that Nolan's fight scenes aren't that great. I think this scene is him kind of transcending that. And this is him saying, no.
It's the one fight scene in this trilogy it's not just good, it's fantastic, but it's the one fight scene that really gets it.
Yeah, I don't think the rest of them in this movie are bad though. I think
they're better than the last couple movies, but they're not great.
The general quality is much better though. And then you've got this scene, which is kind of no, look, this is how you do agree, and there's emotion in it. There's reasons to care about the fight scene. It's great. And like I say, all the build up. I love him meeting Catwoman. You know, no guns, no killing. The actual all out Batman theme that plays as he's flying the bat around the city. You know, which by the way,
good.
having watched Dark Knight just last week, that does play once in Dark Knight, like a previous version of it. Right after it cuts to the city, after the bank heist at the start, when you first see the signal come on, you do hear the dun 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 dun. Right, you hear it once at Dark Knight, but it's like, you know, it's a bit more simple. It's just that, whereas here it's like, no, it's the full blown theme.
Full blown,
yeah.
It's full heroic.
But what I think is interesting is it only plays in this first half when it's like what he thinks he is as Batman, and then in the second half, because this is a notable thing that plays in the first half.
To the simple version of the two notes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The two chords, two chords aren't in the first half of the film at all. But the moment he gets out of that pit, you hear them.
That's it. You know, when the gasoline goes up, it's the two chords playing. That's all.
Yeah, the two chords playing the gasoline, and it's the two chords that end the film. As it should. Yeah. I mean, it's almost weird actually. The first one doesn't end with that, because I feel like that's how I associate these movies ending.
It is kind of weird, yeah.
Yeah, it's the dun dun. I can't even do it off the drop of a hat. But so no, all this is fantastic. I love all this. I love the idea that, like, and it's not like everyone around him is like, no, you shouldn't be, but because Lucius clearly like, hey, I've got some new toys. You want to see the new toys? Come on, come look at the toys, Bruce. Obviously Blake's leading them on, and I suppose we should talk about Blake. Blake's obviously a character that has to be talked about. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I was excited by his inclusion. I like that actor a lot.
Who doesn't?
Coming into this movie, and he kind of represents, much like the younger orphan kid that he talks to, this younger generation who, keep in mind 8 years have passed, but when the Dark Knight happened for his age, he was probably in his teens.
Yeah, probably like 14, 15.
Yeah. I'll even buy late teens if he's in his mid-20s now. Like I'll buy he was 18 maybe.
How old was he at that point? I don't actually know.
What, in the film? I don't know. I'm just assuming Levitt was in his late 20s. Maybe playing slightly younger.
You're right. I mean, he's 38 now, so
he was actually in his 30s already then.
Yeah.
But
he looks young, doesn't he?
He does look young. He's got a young face.
Got a bit of a baby face.
But he he does that thing where he already knows who Bruce is, right? He's figured it out. Little Tim Drake, right? A little bit of Tim Drake in there. You're sighing already.
Oh, I am.
Okay, so this is where we're going to argue about the reveal at the end, isn't it? Where we find out that his legal name is Robin. And
bullshit.
Why is it bullshit? Why does this upset you?
It's possibly the most cheap fan servicey moment of the trilogy. It serves nothing. He is already Robin. Okay, if you're doing that scene, I was hoping for a Dick or a Tim, right? Right, sure. I was hoping, give me one of those names, but they're not doing that. They're doing Robin. Okay, fine. If you're not giving me one of those names of a specific Robin, don't give me any name. Don't do this at all. I don't need it. It's very clear he's Robin. Everyone knows he's Robin. We don't need this bullshit fan service at the end.
I do not get this anger at all. I have no problems with this. And the reason why I have no problems with this is because he's not Dick Grayson. He's not Tim... he's not Tim Drake. I thought I messed up when I said Tim Grayson there. He's not Dick Grayson. He's not Tim Drake. He's not Jason Todd. Thankfully, he's not Damian Wayne. Right? He's not Carrie Kelly for that matter either.
No.
Right. He's there to represent the idea of the legacy living on. Right. And I think the use of the name Robin is there to represent the idea that this is Nolan's idea of what Robin represents. The idea that it can be passed on. I think you could say it's a bit on the nose actually using the name Robin, and I can't really argue with that if that's how you feel. It doesn't bother me that they use the name Robin, but to me that's the point. Is he represents all of them because it's the idea of it living on.
It just feels forced. I think you get that if you take out that one scene where you not even the one scene, but one line about his name, right? You take out that. He still goes and he discovers the cave at the end, and it's like, oh no, the legacy lives on. All of it still works. It just doesn't need this stupid Robin thing.
It doesn't bother me. I don't think it's that stupid, but I mean,
Hate it.
It's just a taste thing, and There's no meaningful debate to have about it. You're just going to sit there and say you hate it every time I say anything positive about it.
I am, because it's fan servicey bullshit.
Because you're going to be petty about it, so there's no point in arguing.
Yeah.
There's no point in discussing it. But I will say he represents all the Robins, and I think the idea that, you know, the symbol lives on, again, it's the idea of Batman or Bruce accepting.
He does not represent Jason Todd.
Okay, maybe not Jason Todd, but it's the idea of Bruce. No, the hockey pad wearing dudes represent Jason Todd in the last one. So it's the idea of Bruce accepting that. Because his thing in Dark Knight is that he thinks it can end. He thinks that Batman can end when he fixes everything. It's the idea that he's accepted that it's an ongoing fight. He has to trust someone else to take the mantle, and the idea that if the Bat's going to live forever, then he has to trust someone else to sort of take it and run with it and continue forever.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's what he represents. And I don't have a problem with him using the Robin name. It did take me aback the first time I watched it. I was like, oh, Robin? Okay.
And this is what frustrates me about it, is I like everything about it, except the use of the name.
It's not enough to bother me. It really isn't. This is not. Oh, you're on your own, so we're going to call you Han Solo. It's not that. This is not even in the same realm as that.
It's when I'm watching the movie, it takes me out of it to an equivalent degree, and which, you know, given how clearly I hate this, you can take that as my feelings on the Solo bullshit name thing as well.
Yeah, I at this point in the movie. Now, it doesn't really bother me that much anyway. At this point in the movie, that last 5-minute sequence where that music's playing and it's doing the wrap-up stuff, I am far too emotionally invested in what's going on to give a shit. I really am. I am far too into everything. I'm into Lucius, you know, learning the autopilot was fixed. If I have a complaint about the ending, is that I don't think we should see Bruce. I want to see Alfred smile and then cut away.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
I don't want to see Bruce. I want it to be left ambiguous. Give us enough of the breadcrumbs that we can hope that he's there, because much like the film, it's about hope. We can hope that he's got out, that he's with Selina, and they're having a happy life.
I have to assume Bruce had to go and look at Alfred's bank records and go, right, when's he booking this tickets to France? Because I need to know when he goes and visits this every year. Because Alfred never told him that.
Or he just lives there. Or
you think Bruce lives there and goes to this cafe every day waiting for Alfred?
Well, no. Look, are you questioning why Bruce Wayne, Batman, can keep an eye on when Alfred's moving, that he can't keep tabs on someone?
No. I'm questioning why no one recognizes Bruce Wayne.
No one's seen him in 8 years and he's in a different country.
He looks exactly the same.
This is a bullshit complaint. This is no fun allowed. I'm going to pick apart every movie I ever see. This is bullshit.
No, this bothers me. This hugely famous person who's in very clearly a bustling tourist centre of France.
Wait a minute. Like, how famous is he outside of Gotham? We have never had any sense that he's that famous outside of Gotham. No one recognised him in Begins, when he was going around the world as a homeless dude.
Yeah, but he was dressed as a homeless dude. He looked like a homeless dude. He doesn't here, does he? He looks like Bruce Wayne.
He's smiling. He doesn't look like Bruce Wayne.
He does look like Bruce Wayne. He's wearing a fancy shirt. He looks like Bruce Wayne.
That's not how Bruce Wayne walked around, though. Like, this is such a petty complaint. I am not jumping on board with this at all.
No, this one has always bothered me.
This has never bothered me. The only problem I have is that just from a story point of view, is I don't think we should confirm it. I don't think we should see him there. I think we should just see Alfred smiling and cut away. That is my only problem. And I said this in the Begins review. I wish Alfred told that story about going there to see him was in Begins, just to set it up earlier. But it is what it is.
I'm not going to hold that against this movie though.
You know, and Alfred's inclusion here, you know, he breaks my heart. See when it cuts to him at the grave, saying "I failed you" to the Waynes, especially since you've not seen him for like 2 hours at that point, because he leaves quite early on in the film.
He does, yeah.
It really hurts when he starts crying and, you know, saying to the other Waynes, like, "Oh, I failed you. I made a promise and I failed you," and his tears are rolling out of his eyes, like, "Oh my God, stop it, Alfred! You're upsetting me here."
It's rough. It gets to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, but look, everything I love about the ending. I love the final shot. I love the bat signal being fixed. I love the idea that hope is restored and all these people. And do you know what I like about the idea of him still being alive? I like the idea that Lucius and Alfred, who knew him as Bruce first, know that he's alive. Whereas Robin and Commissioner Gordon, who believe more in the Batman, and even though they knew who he was by the end, they cared more about who he stood for as the Batman. They don't necessarily know that he's alive as a person. They just, like, know that this has been set up for them now.
Sure.
The signal's back, and the idea that that's what's important to them as characters is the idea of who the Batman is and was, and what that can mean going forward. I like that aspect of it. But no, I will happily defend all these stupid ending complaints. Talia, I will give you Talia as the weakest part, and she does kind of take the movie away from Bane at the end. I will give you that. At that point, though, it's more about Bruce's sacrifice, or the seeming of having a sacrifice.
One more nitpick at the ending.
Okay.
When he's giving his identity to Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
I get the point is supposed to. It's kind of a callback to how he gave Rachel his identity in Begins, right? It's a quote, something that only they'd recognize.
You don't buy that Gordon would remember it after all this time?
I think it's too vague. I mean, I'm sure he remembers doing that, like putting a coat around Bruce Wayne, sure, but I don't believe that's the only time he's put his coat around a kid. Yeah, come on. No, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that it's specific enough for him to immediately go, "Oh shit, Bruce Wayne."
Do you know what the annoying part about this complaint is, though? Is I don't think you can. This is something you can sort of shrug and make your face at and be like, "Oh, I don't buy this. That he would remember this," but you can't really make that call for anyone else but yourself. Like, you could say that, but you can meet other people who have weird memories that would be conjured up by any sort of thing.
I'm not saying he doesn't remember doing that. Perfectly fine with him remembering the act of doing it. My problem is it's such an unspecific act that I don't believe that he's not done that to many a person.
I think
in Gotham.
I think you're ignoring the idea that he puts that with other things and it clocks that he's Bruce Wayne. That it makes sense. And are you telling me that, like, doing it with Bruce Wayne, the rich parents got killed early in his career, wasn't one of the most memorable nights as a police officer he's ever had?
Maybe.
I don't know. Again, this feels like one of your weird complaints. Like, you had a complaint in a comic book recently that someone had to walk into another room to answer a phone because everyone has phones in their bedrooms now, and it was the most petty, stupid complaint ever.
I admitted at the time that one was petty. I said that on the record that this was petty and it was just me. This one, no, not having it. It's if this was my only problem with the ending, I'd let it slide. But it adds up to just another thing in this last 20 minutes I dislike. I
have a problem with this. I will give you Talia. I absolutely will. But
will you give me the clunky? Oh, the autopilot isn't working.
You mean earlier?
Yeah, throughout the movie, it's like constantly, hey, this autopilot ain't working. I'm like, yeah, all right, I get it. Because it never feels natural after the first time. The one time Lucius says early on, I think is fine. The rest of it, I don't know. It feels like, hey, you need to be paying. Yeah, this isn't working.
You'll only bring it up once then again before the ending, though.
I think it's twice, isn't it?
It's just when they go and find it again after Bruce comes back, and he makes a crack about the autopilot. I think that's the only time he brings it up. I'll give you that one's a bit clunky, but
that one I'll definitely hate.
That one though, for me, it's like he's kind of intentionally like smirking as he says it, and he is smirking in that scene. He's actually
given... I'm sure it's 3 times in the movie that they mention it before the ending. So
I don't remember what the other one is, if there is one.
I remember thinking it when I was watching it, but I'll have to double check now. Damn it.
I think like when he's going to fly off, like, Catwoman says something to him like,
oh, that's it. Yeah. He's like, oh, you're just going to say it to go out there, and he's like, oh, no autopilot. That one, yeah.
Okay, no, I'll give you that. The autopilot discussion's a bit.
I knew there was 3 times total. I'll give it 1.
I don't have a problem with the realization itself, though. If Lucius finds out.
No, that's fine, but it went a bit hard in driving it home beforehand.
Sure, no, that's fair. It's a bit clunky. Like I said,
and I will critique the editing of making it seem like Bruce is in the bat a lot longer than he actually is.
This is something I've thought about in a few viewings, like how long it is from the last time we see him till the bomb goes off. It's a good 10 seconds.
Right, but those last 10 seconds, we are watching a wide shot of the bat flying out over the bay. He does not leave in that 10 seconds. There is some editing trickery going on here.
Theatricality is a powerful means of deception. Going to throw it back at you.
Uh-huh.
No, okay, I'll give you the clunky autopilot talk. I'll give you Talia. I think there's some clunky exposition early on. There's actually one problem that kind of stuck out to me watching this, actually, is, so there's a scene where, so Miranda Tate's helping Gordon and his men, like, try and, like, find the bombs and go around and do things, and they get kidnapped, right? Or they get, like, arrested, essentially, by the Bane's militia. And they're brought in. By the way, I love that Scarecrow got a cameo. That was great.
Because it's a Nolan movie, so of course Cillian Murphy's in there.
Yeah. So, and then they're getting sentenced, and like Bane has that always like, bring her to me. He's like, and I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, we go with the twist. What I thought was weird is that this is before the scene where Selena brings in Bruce to get Lucius, and Miranda's in that scene. And that's the scene where it's, oh, I need you to get me back in the game, and then I like your girlfriend.
So Bane let her go again.
And then the next time we see her, she's still with Bane. And it was really weird, like, what, they let her back out for a scene, and I know she's in charge, like, I'm saying I know she can make that call herself, but it felt weird, and
no one questioned it.
Yeah, it felt weird that
I thought that was weird as well.
It makes me think that those scenes were meant to be in a different order, and they changed them for pacing reasons, but they never really stopped to think that it kind of messed with that continuity.
Yeah, because it was quite a glaring thing as well this time, where, again, it's one of those. It's a forgivable thing, but it takes you out of it, right? And you're going, that's a bit weird.
Just for a moment, it was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
And then I'm like cracking, jokes because Lucius is, joking about Catwoman and stuff. And speaking of Catwoman, I mean, we have to talk about Catwoman.
We probably should. Yeah, we've been going about what 45 minutes.
Yeah, Selena Kyle is probably a fairly notable part of the film to mention. And I wasn't sure what to think, before I saw it for the first time. Like, I was like, oh, Anne Hathaway, okay, all right, we'll see how she does. I actually quite like her in the role.
She's all right. I don't love her, but I mean, I don't have any glaring problems with her either.
Yeah, she's maybe not the most perfect actor for it, but she, at the start of the movie, when she like turns on Bruce, she's like being all timid and like waitressing, and then she kind of goes oops, and she has a little flip out the window and things like that. I think she's solid enough. She's obviously not the standard that Bane is, I don't think, but no. I think she's solid.
I think she's fine, and in a different movie, I'd say she was good. She sticks out in this movie as one of the weaker elements. At least for me.
Yeah,
in terms of just characters.
That's fair. I think she provides a function in that it's the idea that someone like her could also be inspired by Bruce or Batman. The idea that
she does, yeah.
That it's not just like people like Blake or whatever. And actually, that kind of leads me to one of the things that I want to talk about. I mentioned last time, like, I had an idea where the Joker would fit into this. Like, admittedly, the script may have been very different, but if it was going to be similar to this, I think Joker would have gotten out of Blackgate with all the prisoners, right? We'd had the Hello Beautiful kind of moment almost from Dark Knight Returns, or maybe like we'd have that moment after, like, maybe he gets out, he's just sauntering around, he has nothing, he doesn't know what to do himself, right? And then the bat symbol lights up in the sky in the burning bridge, and then that's his Hello Beautiful moment. And I think admittedly you'd have to give Catwoman something else to do at this point in the film, but I think Joker's the one that shoots Bane.
Okay.
I think Joker's the one who shoots Bane. And I think he lodged that over Batman, and in a way that the Joker would, but then that he can only go and save the city now because he's killed someone or something to that effect. Like, I could see him messing with Batman in that.
I can see it.
In that sense. It was because Catwoman comes in and like shoots someone. It's like, and she has this like quip about this whole no guns thing. I'm not feeling it. I feel like the idea of like someone truly maniacal at the Joker doing it out of another reason.
It does feel like Bruce is like, yeah, right, fine, whatever, bigger problems.
Yeah. I feel like it would have played better with like a villain like the Joker doing it, and almost like, yeah, you can only go be the Batman now because I saved you, because I can do this, and then you give Catwoman something else to come in and help save the day with. She's still be on it because I like all the stuff with her on the Tumblr, and she's
yeah, it's fun.
This movie has better continuity with the last one in the sense that the Wayne boardroom feels the same. All those sort of locations.
I'll take the one moment that really throws me in terms of the city. Is when Gordon goes to visit the other cop in his house.
Oh, sure.
And it's just like a completely ordinary house.
Yeah.
And it's the first time in these movies we've seen the city just look like this. I'm like, this is. I know this is what a city looks like. I know this is normal, but it feels so surreal in this movie.
Sure. I wish I Gordon's
And
house in the last two.
yeah, but Gordon's house is a bit nicer. It's I don't know. It doesn't look like this, does it? Like this just looks like a really ordinary street.
Okay. You didn't think Gotham had ordinary streets?
I didn't. I never felt like Gotham had just standard, regular streets like I get
I did
in
in the
any
second
city.
one. I feel like because Dark Knight made it feel more like just a normal city to me.
It made it feel more like a normal city, but it still had some elements that John, I think it is. I think it still feels like an urban metropolis in Dark Knight. This street is like something I'd expect to see closer to the suburbs. Like it's getting out towards the edge of the city where I see these sorts of streets. And again, I buy that it exists.
Yeah, Gotham has an edge. Yes.
Yeah. No, I'm not complaining about this. I'm just saying every time I see it, it strikes me as weird that I'm like, oh yeah, Gotham has a city bit like this that looks normal. It always throws me because we've not seen it before.
Okay, weird. But you know, like I love that obviously the cave's compromised because of everything, but he goes back to that place that he used in Dark Knight. You had that like base in the city, underneath the city, so we get to see that in the back half. I like all these things come back. He's got the same bat suit. He's still using the tumbler. Like it feels like everything's coming back from the last one, and I like that a lot. I like that continuity.
No, I agree. It's definitely better between these movies than it was between the first two.
Yeah. And as far as other things to talk, like I really like his time in the pit. I love seeing it, like him seeing in the news the bodies hanging, all that kind of thing. I like how dark that gets, and how sort of desperate it becomes. The idea of Blake like drawing the bat symbols, like almost to try and inspire the kids, because we see kids also drawing them. It's like it's again, it stands for hope now as much as it does anything else.
No, I get it. It's nice.
Yeah, it's full of money moments. It's full of crowd pleasing moments. And maybe it's the most conventional film because of that, but I still think it has a lot of subtext about what Bruce is going through as a character, and it still does wrap up all the themes that have been building up for the previous two films. And unlike other Batman stories, it gets to have an ending, and because of that, we do have this ending where he does get out and leaves it to legacy.
It's funnily like because I know when we started this, you went, "Oh yeah, we'll fight on those." When I said I wasn't feeling the end, that's probably the thing about the ending I hate the least. I have no problem with it having an ending.
It's not the conceptual part of it. Yeah, it's these other things that bug you. Yeah. I mean that's fair. I still love this movie. Like I feel like I think the first, like I said, there's a clunky exposition in the first chunk. I also think that extends to some of the editing. I think like once you get to Gotham after the opening plane sequence, there is kind of like a section where it feels like it's rushing through a lot of like things to set things up.
Yeah,
it feels very quick paced.
On a technical note, I felt the IMAX switching even more in this movie.
Really? Okay.
It feels like it's doing it constantly.
And there's definitely more. There was definitely more IMAX footage in the movie for sure.
There is, but there are points where I feel towards the end where we've got IMAX stuff, and then we're cutting back to just like Gordon in a conversation with someone. And then back again, like, and it's intercutting. I'm like, and it's back and forth like 4 or 5 times in like 20 seconds.
Here's the funny thing: watching it soon after Dark Knight makes it actually like, because I said like in Dark Knight I get really used to it after like a certain point.
You think Dark Knight like immunized you?
Yeah, like going into this, like I feel like I was noticing it less because I was already used to it from the previous film.
I noticed it far more. I found it far more distracting, and then I found it relatively distracting in Dark Knight. I found it far more distracting in this one.
Again, it's not a problem for me. It doesn't really bug me that much.
This is one of those where I can't really go, "Oh, you should fix it," right? I mean, it's there's not like it's just I notice it, and there's not anything new to switch that off.
Get some black tape and put it at the top and bottom of the screen.
Why would I? Do you know? Because that would piss me off more. Because then I'm going. Now I'm just reframing it just for the sake of it. Then I'd be as bad as those awful people who stretch or or crop whatever to fit their TVs. I'm like, no, I'm not those people.
Exactly. So stop whining.
No, I'm whining about the jarring changes, but I'm not gonna change it.
No, the IMAX stuff doesn't bother me, and the IMAX footage looks great. Like it does in this movie.
It does, yeah.
There's those big aerial shots with all the bridges blowing up. There's the
entire plane sequence.
Yes, the entire plane sequence is fantastic. They actually dangle people in a plane because Nolan's a madman,
and it looks bloody good, don't it?
Yeah, all that stuff. The fight in the middle is all IMAX, of course. Most of the stuff at the ending's IMAX. It's lots of really great money shots. It's funny. Last two Batman movies, we've been joking about CW actors popping up. No CW actors. However, one Chad Radwell from Scream Queens was in the stock exchange.
Yeah, he was.
So there was that. Also, I can't remember his name, but the dude was on Lost. He's the cop at the bridge who's like telling them not to cross. That actor.
Okay, I know the guy you're on about.
Yeah.
I can't help with Lost characters.
He was in Lost. He was in an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He was in an episode. In fact, I think he was cast in one of the Resident Evil movies as a good character that I like, but he was totally unfit for the part. But he pops up in a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I was recognizing faces. I think I recognized him at the time as well. I just forgotten about him. Whereas Chad Radwell, I did not know who he was.
No, but now he is the eternal legend that is Chad Radwell.
Yes. So that was exciting. Also, one of my favorite Bane lines might be this. What a lovely voice.
It's isn't there two lovelies?
Two lovelies?
Yeah, and that lovely voice.
You may be right. Maybe two lovelies, but it's when the kids sing the national anthem. He's just waiting in the wings before he comes out with his big thing. Yeah. If I have any effects complaint in the whole thing, it's maybe the football field blowing up.
Yeah.
Or I say blowing up, sinking is maybe more accurate.
Yes. The explosion
term.
going around it.
Yeah. It's probably the most CG. It's probably the only time in the whole movie where I went, "Oh, that's CG."
Yeah, it's definitely the only time I did that.
Whereas the bat looks great. Like, and it's not like they were actually flying a bat around the buildings, but it looks good. Like, they spent time in that and money. It looks good.
It does. It does. I mean, like, you kind of wish they did a bunch of miniatures, right, and just did a little remote control one.
I mean, I know they did film some like real bat stuff because they had like one that was low down enough where they could actually film it chasing a tumbler. But obviously, when it's like got up in between the buildings and all that, obviously that's
I mean, it looks good. It does.
It looks great. And I do kind of like how these series is naturally added to, like, because obviously there's this thing of like, all right, we had the Batmobile, we need a bat bike, then we need a bat plane, bat boat. Like, it's naturally kind of added one thing each movie without it feeling kind of forced. Especially when the bat pod ended up being just an extension of the tumbler.
Yeah,
it's not felt like they've forced all that sort of stuff in.
No, I'm with you. I agree with that.
Music is phenomenal from start to finish.
Yeah, it is. I love the way they work in that chanting.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
Yeah, Bane's got the chanting. Catwoman's got that little like sort of cheeky piano thing.
Yeah.
With the strings.
You got the big bombastic Batman stuff in the first half, and then return to the two chords in the back.
Yeah, all that's, and you got the great emotional final like theme that plays that goes into the kind of the uplifting part from Dark Knight.
Yeah, it's real good.
That ends with the perfect moment. It's it's this literally the new Batman rising.
Yeah, no, it is. It's good.
Yeah. I remember once speaking to someone actually after seeing this, where they thought it would set up a fourth film where it was going to be Batman and Robin, and I'm like, I don't think you quite understood the ending of this one.
It would never have been Batman and Robin. I think there's an argument that you could have had more films in this world.
Oh yeah, with
Levitt playing, I think, taking the lead. One
of my favorite like fan posters for what would have come next.
Was it him as Nightwing?
It was him as Nightwing, but they spelled it with a K.
That's good.
And the symbol was like the white chalk version, almost like above the.
Oh, that's real good.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was like, yeah, that's the Nightwing of this world. Yes.
That's real good. And I think there's an argument that okay, maybe we could have had that movie, and part of me wants to have had that movie.
It's a bit better than Batman v Superman.
Well, yeah, it's not saying much, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's part of me that goes, well, no, we should leave it here. Just leave it.
Yeah, no, it's the perfect ending.
But there is also part of me that's like, oh, but God, give me that Nightwing, because Levitt would make a phenomenal Nightwing.
He would. I don't think he's still young enough to do it if they if they wanted to go down that.
It's definitely an older Nightwing, isn't it? That said, he's got baby face. I'll if they tell me he's 25, I'll believe him.
That's not exactly the one I saw before. I was trying to find it to show you.
Never mind.
It's not. I'm not finding it. That one does use the white thing though. I'm still going to share this just for the purpose of showing you how they use the logo. This is spelled without the K, but
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, oop, didn't see that in the video.
Yeah.
Didn't see that in the video. It peeked in.
No one saw anything, did
No,
they?
no one saw a thing. I'll blur it. It's fine. Blur it in post.
Yeah.
The idea of taking the chalk version that he drew and turn that into the Nightwing logo.
Into the blue logo is more the white.
Yeah, but no, I mean where the title is. Like,
Yeah. But do you think the blue on the Nightwing outfit should have been that white bat almost?
I don't know. It was a debate. I think you could argue either way.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think I actually thought that in the movie the first time I saw it, that when he was drawing the simplified bat symbol, it almost looked like the Nightwing logo.
It does a bit, yeah.
Because there's less like detail on it.
Yeah, no, I can see it.
But no, I thought that was neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to complain about or praise?
I'm thinking, do I have any more complaints? Honestly, I'm really concerned about what I'm going to rate this because I don't know. Because, I'm sure you could hear how passionate I've been about how much I really love, most of this movie.
I mean, I would maybe offer a critique and say that also how we find out the backstory about Raz in the pit when we get the flashbacks feels a bit weird and out of place for the series. Because we've had flashbacks in the movie before, but we've never had someone tells a story and we get a flashback of that story.
Yeah.
It felt like it was out of a different. Like, it felt out of tone for the series a little bit.
It did. That was pretty much when I first saw this. Obviously, I've got other complaints now, but my one big disappointment when I first saw this was we knew Liam Neeson was showing up, and with it being Ra's al Ghul, we were like, "Are they going there?" Right?
I never thought they were though.
No, I didn't either. Not really. But then, and they tease it when he shows up. It's like, "Oh, but maybe I am immortal."
That said, I do remember before it came out, there was like people were analysing the scene in Batman Begins where the train goes down, and they were like circling things they thought was him jumping from the train to prove that he didn't die. Yeah. I remember that happening.
But even in this, where they're teasing it, when in the vision, Raz is like, "But Ra's al Ghul's immortal." I'm like, stop bloody playing with it. If you're not doing it, don't tease me.
As much as I say the flashbacks felt a bit out of place, I do love that scene. I love Bruce screaming at him, like screaming no, and then it just hard cuts mid-scream. I do really like that.
No, that's good.
Because then the real Batman music starts to kick in as he starts training. It's like, no, it's time. He's not quite there yet, but like that's where it starts to feel like it's building towards it.
No, I'm with you.
No, there's so many moments. I mean, it's probably the most fanboy film in the sense that there's so many like just great Bat moments where he's either triumphant or he inspires hope, or he like gets one up on the villain, or the villain gets one up on him. But like I find myself still thoroughly enjoying this movie, and I think it is objectively the weakest of the three, and that it's not the strongest thematically. I still think the themes are there. I still think the character arc for Bruce is there.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's good. Like,
I think it's ambitious as well. I think if any faults you can give it, I think you can sort of trace it back to just it's really ambitious. Like it's trying to do a lot of things.
I think it's got the comedy beats down better than Begins has still.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
You mentioned I think the biggest laugh for me in this movie is the Gordon's trial. And
Death by Exile.
If you think we're walking out onto that ice, intentionally, you got another thing coming. And he's like, all right then, death by exile. And every time that gives me a good chuckle.
No, I like that. I actually love the and this is actually fun. Remember how in Dark Knight we had he does that when he disappears on the roof with Harvey Dent, and that's taken out along Halloween. Now I'd read that before I saw Dark Knight, so when I saw Dark Knight, that gave me like a smile, right? Yeah. This was the opposite, where I hadn't read Kingdom Come before I saw this, and maybe a year or two later, I read Kingdom Come for the first time, and the moment in this film where Batman's out the scene, and Batman turns around and goes, "So that's what that feels like," right? That moment, that's a moment from Kingdom Come. It's Superman, it's not Catwoman. But when I read that in Kingdom Come, I got this giddy smell. I was like, oh, that sneaky bastard Nolan. He took it from Kingdom Come.
Would have been better if it wasn't in the stupid Bat voice. Because no need.
No one's around. I get it. Honestly, the only time his voice bothers me in this film, the only time, and it's the time that's obvious, it's just when he's screaming, "Where's the trigger?" It's the only time where I'm like, nah, it's too much. Stop it. Pull it back.
Yeah, it's a bit much, isn't it?
Where's the trigger? Too much.
It is borderline comical. Like, you're trying not to laugh. It's this big climatic moment, and I'm there trying not to laugh at Christian Bale screaming this.
Hmm.
Because that's it. No, that's my point. There is, I feel Christian Bale screaming that. Then I don't. It's
Yeah.
not Batman anymore. I can feel the actor.
Yeah. No, I'll give you that moment. That moment doesn't fit for me. Do you know actually what I like about Bane's End, actually? Something that I do really like in the details here. So Talia leaves and is like, oh, we're going to go off and blow up the city, blah, 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 and make sure the bomb's okay. And she's like, no, make sure he's alive. I want him to, like, witness the fire. I want
Yeah,
him to
and
witness
then as soon as she's gone, Bane's like, "Well, I've got to kill you, right?"
Yeah, no, like, there's a joke there to that where he's like, you'll just have to, hold on, that's my can.
For God's sake.
You'll have to imagine the fire. Like, so, like, I like that in itself. But then he loses, and I do kind of like the idea that the moment that it's kind of like in Begins almost with how Raz kind of finally like the moment he does think something on ego is when he kind of loses, right? That happens in this franchise a lot. But he loses. He does something just for himself out of like his own desire, and that's the moment he loses. Just like how in the first half of the film, Batman was destined to lose because he was doing everything for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I like that small touch.
Okay. I'm with you. It's not bad.
As for obviously Bruce is firing the cannons at the truck. This is each movie has the one moment where you have to debate what he's doing here in terms of death, and I do kind of like that letting Raz die does kind of come back. As much as I don't like Talia that much in this movie, I do kind of like that's coming back to bite him because he did make that. Because to me that's a mistake, and he kind of realizes that by the end of Dark Knight because he doesn't let Joker die.
Sketchy on her part. Like, I hated my father till you killed him. Now I hate you. Like, right, okay.
Again, Talia, weakest part of the movie. So the thing is, so he's firing cannons at the truck. And I was really paying attention this time watching. I was really looking for it and just seeing exactly what is he doing and how do the characters die. Now, I think technically the driver does die as a result of directly of his blast. I think Talia technically dies because of the fall after it goes off the thing.
Yeah, I think so.
However, I was really paying attention to it. It does, see if you're looking for it does genuinely look like he's trying to just shoot the front of right in front of it because he keeps hitting the ground in front of them. It looks like he's going for the tires. It really does. So,
but is just poor aim a good excuse?
Well, we know he doesn't use guns, so I mean, well, my argument for this scene's always been that there's a nuke about to go off, and like if Batman is faced with using a gun versus letting everyone die, he'll do it to get it done. He won't stubbornly sit and not do it.
You'd hope, right?
Yeah. So to me, it's like, I wish the writers wouldn't put themselves in this corner where he has to kind of bend the rules a little bit, but it still feels more true to the character to me than anything in Batman v Superman.
Oh yeah, I mean, I borderline hate the last 20 minutes of this movie, and I still like all of those 20 minutes better than any of Batman v Superman.
And naturally, of course you do. And the other thing is that I'd say that, to me, versus the Raz moment where he says, I don't have to save you, I think the Raz moment's worse. But again, I think that the movies do use that intelligently, where by the end of the second film, he does not let Joker die, and his mistake from the first film comes back to bite him. Like, this is why all this is happening, is because he didn't, hold to his ideals in that final scene. So it does work thematically for the film, even if, sure, if I was writing Batman, he would never do it.
Wouldn't be a problem to begin with, would it?
Yeah, it would never happen. But I like that they use it. It's almost that thing where you hope that when they make a mistake in a film like Man of Steel, where they'll fix it in the next one, right? They'll use that and build character out of it. This is actually one of the examples where it's not even that big of a problem in the first film versus that. But Nolan actually did do that. He did actually take that and actually
he tried. Yeah.
He built something out of it, which was kind of nice.
I think it was better in the second movie than it was in this one. I think this one is he tried. I'm not sure it's quite there, but I can at least appreciate the intent.
It's actually way more subtle. He's not trying to make plot beats out of it. It's just there. It's there in the subtext. And if you want to read it, you can read it that way, and it works. Yeah. So, yeah. I like Blake's character a lot as well. I mean, I don't know if I made that clear earlier, but I actually really like his inclusion and everything he adds to the film. Yeah. I love that scene where he, because he's a cop, but he kills the bad guys, right, that are attacking him, and afterwards he throws the gun away. I do kind of like that scene a lot.
It does lead to one of my only real complaints with his character, and that is, So he has that moment there where he throws the gun away. He's horrified, right? And
Yeah.
you think, oh, that's a step to him kind of joining Bruce on that,
That path.
no guns, John. Literally, the next scene is he's storming into the hospital for Gordon with a gun.
With a shotgun, yes.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, the very next scene with him. I'm like, wait, what? Didn't he just learn a lesson about guns?
I mean, no, I wouldn't read it as he learned a lesson. I think he was horrified in the moment. I think he grabs the shotgun because that's all he's been trained to do.
I get it. I think if that hadn't come right after he has this moment,
he's against the clock. He's racing because he thinks someone's going to kill Gordon. Luckily, Gordon knows what he's doing and takes out the guys himself.
I agree. I think the problem is the way it comes off for me is it makes that moment with the gun feel like it has no weight because he chucks it away and he's horrified, right? And then immediately it's like, right, where's the next gun?
It's a scene transition problem almost.
Yeah.
It's an editing problem, scene ordering problem. Yeah, more than anything else.
It is.
But no, I like that, and I like at the end, obviously, like he's trying to get the kids off through the bridge, and because the other guys follow what they've been ordered to so strictly to a T, they almost all get trapped with it in the blast radius, and that's kind of the final nail. Is like no, Batman accomplished something by working outside the rules. To put it the way Gordon does, is sometimes the institution itself is our shackles, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I love the movie. People can levy complaints at it. What they want. I think Batman's journey in this, I think, is an arc. I think what he learns, what he goes through, that arrogance that then is turned into failure, that then is turned into like the true realization of the Dark Knight legacy and the idea of inspiring hope. Him realizing that and using the symbol to inspire hope on his way back. All that stuff. All those moments. The fight with Bane, all that stuff. I love it. So this might still be my favourite of the three. It's hard to say though. But objectively, I think it's the weakest. If I'm looking at this with a critical filmmaking eye and a critical script sort of doctoring eye, I would say this is the weakest of the three. It might still be my favourite though, regardless of that.
I think it's always been my least favourite, even though it has some of my favourite moments. In some ways, I always come back to Begins being my favourite, even though it's I gave it a lower score than Dark Knight, right? But it's got something different in its tone and its mood that just works for me. This one, like I said, I love so much of this movie, like I really do. And then I kind of hate it. And the problem is that the chunk that I hate is the end, where it's supposed to all right, let's bring it home.
I love
and it doesn't for me.
See, whenever I listen to the soundtrack and I listen to that final track, Rise, and it's
so good.
It's literally the final 7 minutes of the film, the music of that part.
Yeah, I know.
I tear up. Like every time I watch this film, I'm tearing up. Do you see that speech at the end when Gordon's like speaking at his funeral?
Me too.
I tear up every time. Every time. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's not like everything in the last 20 minutes I hate. Like I like the stuff at the graves with Alfred and Gordon's speech, right? There's just a lot of it that I have problems with, and pretty major problems. But how much does that ruin the rest of them? Because if you told me to watch this movie again right now, I'd still watch it because Bane.
Here's the thing. The problems you have are not the conceptual problems. The final point that it's making with the legacy living on, with Gordon having the signal again, with him rising, that final fist-pumping moment still works for you. You shouldn't let some technicalities of the Alfred and Bruce stuff get you down. Because that's what these are. They're technicalities.
No, they are. There's just a lot of them. like I said, from Talia's turn, so where you have her reveal, undercutting Bane, her death. You've got the Gordon moment. I thought was a bit weird. You've got Robin. You've got Bruce being seen in France. Like that's 6 pretty big moments in the last 20 minutes that I outright hate. And I'm like, how much do I need to take away from my love of the movie overall because of those moments? Even though the point of the movie and the point of the ending I still like.
Hurry up and rate it, you menace. Jesus Christ, I'll be here all day.
We are, so I don't know. If you'd asked me, I can tell you before we came into, before I was watched this, last time I rated it, it was at like a 9 or a 9.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a 9.5.
Dock
So
half
I've
a
got
point and call it a day. Come on.
No. I don't think that's enough.
Dock a whole point then.
I'm going down to the 8.
Go down to an 8. Oh my.
Yeah, I'm docking 1.5 points.
So now I shall rate it.
Yeah, here's comes a 10.
I mean, arguably I should, because arguably I said I think it's my favorite, and I gave Dark Knight a 10.
Yeah, but like I said, I still think Batman Begins my favorite, and I rated that
which is
lower
fair.
than Dark Knight.
Which is fair. So the question becomes: Do I let my critical, film brain,
Take over your feelings.
take over the feelings a little bit? Do I let the feelings run wild, or do I split the difference? Do I go somewhere that kind of honors both, doesn't go too high, doesn't go too low? It doesn't go too low for how I feel, but doesn't go too high for what my critiques are. So I'm going to be conservative.
Cool, 9.5.
9.5 is what I'm giving it.
See?
I'm acknowledging that objectively it is a weaker constructed film than The Dark Knight. But I freaking love it. And I will watch this 100,000 times again rather than Batman v Superman. 100,000 times. Ben Affleck could have been a good Batman. He was a shit Batman. He was a shitly written Batman. His costume was too bulky. I don't like almost anything about that Batman. I will fight people on this.
I don't have a problem with this costume, actually.
It's too bulky. I don't like it. He's like a tank walking around. There's no agility. Batman should have agility.
Sure, I don't know. I thought the costumes are. Look,
ears were too short as well. Actually, while we're on the subject, ears were too short.
Okay, fine. I'll give you the ears were too short. That is, let's be honest, that's a nitpicky one, isn't it? That's as bad as my
It's the first thing you notice about is how tall the ears are.
Yeah,
even in silhouette, you see the ears.
You do. That's as bad as my thing with the yellow, right with the on this suit, because you barely notice the bat logo. You have to look for the bat. Like, sure. Where is it? Oh, it's there. It's bullshit. But we're over that last movie. But no, I think I don't blame Affleck for.
No, I don't either. But I'm just some people love that version of Batman for some reason. I don't get it.
No, terrible writing. Like truly atrocious. Terrible
murder
writing.
Man is what he is.
Yeah. Still good acting for that portrayal, like for that script. Good acting.
I guess. I mean,
but
at that point, I don't care though.
No, I agree. But disappointing in that, I think he had the potential to maybe have been the best Batman.
And he's done
as an actor.
He's done.
Yeah. We get to start all again in a year or two.
Hey, Matt Reeves, whatever he does, Matt Reeves, I'm sure it's going to be better than that. And what will it live up to these 3 movies? I mean, I love this trilogy. This might be my favorite trilogy.
I agree. But how good is the Apes trilogy?
Oh, the New Apes trilogy's up there. I mean, honestly, I think a top 10 trilogies is totally a countdown we should do soon.
I don't disagree, but that's my point. Is okay. He did 2/3 of that trilogy, and it's goddamn fantastic.
That's true, but does he meld well with the Bat? That's the question.
We will find out. One way or another, we will know.
Does his vision of the Bat line up with my vision of the Bat? And enough.
Honestly, I think the bigger question is: does his vision of the Bat line up with Warner Bros. Vision of the?
Hope not. Well, it depends. Like, were Warner Bros. Happy with what the last couple movies were? I don't know if they are.
I've got no idea anymore. I don't think Warner Bros. Knows what they think anymore.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, it was.
That is the concluding chapter in the trilogy, and I was delighted watching these 3 films again. It had been a few years, so I actually really like enough time had passed where I was really there was no burnout or anything. It was just I love this. I love these movies.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. It's been a good month.
Yeah, I mean, just today in the shower, I started doing. See, at the start of Dark Knight, where just before the hockey pad did show up, I was doing "My dogs are hungry," like that line. I was doing that in the shower for some reason.
You're going to spend the next 3 weeks quoting Bane, aren't you?
Speak of the devil, and he shall appear.
So good.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot Ben Mendelsohn was in this, by the way.
So did I. Aidan Gillen showed up at the stage, the CIA agent. I was like, oh, he's in this.
And then your dude from Torchwood is there with a dodgy American
Burn
accent.
Gorman, yeah, a bit rough on the accent, but I do like Burn Gorman, even with his stupid name.
Ben Mendelsohn is such a sleazy asshole in this. Like, he kicks Bruce Wayne out of the board meeting and he's like, no, back to business. Yeah.
What do you mean in this?
Oh, he's always sleazy, sure, yeah.
Ben Mendelsohn is the ultimate sleazy ass.
And now he's been in both a Batman movie and a Captain Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, see in Captain Marvel, like, he plays a Skrull, right? That's not a spoiler, he plays a Skrull.
Is he a sleazy Skrull?
He's got like a sleazy sense of humor, yeah. But see when like he started speaking, I'm like, oh, that sounds like Ben Mendelsohn. And you see him, like, obviously they can shapeshift, right? And at one point he shapeshifts into this human, and it's Ben Mendelsohn, right? But he looks so different to normal that I thought, I was like, is it just a guy that sounds like Ben Mendelsohn? Because he looks so different. But it was him. It was his voice. It was
yeah, I knew he was in the movie, but for a while. I've not seen it yet, but I knew he was in there.
Looked a bit chubbier than normal. I don't know if they intentionally made him look different just because the idea is it's not really him. It's like, even though it's like, he could just, this guy just could look like Ben Mendelsohn. It could just be, as a way of getting him in the movie for a little bit, but
yeah,
whatever.
Basically, he can have a day out of the makeup chair.
Pretty much, yeah. That's the whole thing. And my boy Coulson's in that movie. That's why you should see it, Connor, because you get a Coulson moment or two.
I know. I need my Coulson fix. It's been a while, but it's just, I can't be asked. This is the real answer. I can't be asked to go to the cinema.
Yeah, and there's a cat with a prominent role, which you'll be delighted by.
Yeah, I hate that. So I'm taking a stand. I will not support movies with shitty cats.
Cat's great. That has been Dark Knight Rises. That has been Batman month on 121 in Flux. Hopefully you've enjoyed us digging through them. You've enjoyed the analysis, maybe the petty complaints. Connor in this one, me in the first four.
Yep.
Well, I don't think anyone cares about I'm complaining about Forever and Robin. I feel like people probably have a problem with me.
At least Batman.
Yeah, in Returns. Some people love Returns though.
Some people love Returns, but more people love Batman.
Yeah, I think even the worst scene in like these three movies is better than like any of those four.
No, I won't take that.
That's fine. Don't have to take it.
Because I'll tell you what would have improved this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Penguin bombers.
Piss off, you ginger menace. Do you know actually what I actually I'm going to make a promise here. So I think next time we do a countdown, we're due one in a couple months. I think we'll do a smaller one and we'll do trilogies. I think we've set that up. We've teed that one up.
That's fine. I've seen enough trilogies.
And we'll do at least top 10, maybe top 25. Well, we'll have to sort of do some research and see how many we've got to actually pick from, and see if top 25 is a feasible thing where we actually like all 25 of our trilogies.
They've got to be good trilogies. To 25.
Yeah. But top 10 for sure. We'll do a top 10 trilogies. I think that's fun.
I got my top 2 locked in, and Pete's going to hate them both.
I can guess your top 2 right now.
Yeah, I know you can.
I can tell you right now what cars number 2 and number 1 are in the correct order.
Yeah. I'll be honest. Most people who listen to enough of our content probably can.
Yeah. And sure, Dark Knight Trilogy is going to be near the top for me. Is it actually number 1? I don't know yet. I'd have to actually look and see all the other trilogy options. But
the question is, what other trilogies do I put in there to piss Pete off? I can think of at least one notable omission that might annoy Pete. That might be fun.
You were never going to put that in. You've not even seen the last 2 of those.
Exactly.
I'm not expecting that to be on your list.
Yeah.
I could fill it at least a good solid top 10. We'll see.
I can definitely do a good 10.
If not 25, maybe 20. Maybe if it's close, it'll be like, we'll do a top 20.
We'll have to look into it.
Yeah, we'll have to look at it and see how many we've got to pick from. We'll basically have to go and both make up a list and try and get to 25 or plus. And then
see if it's happening or not.
Yeah. What will be really funny though is if I come back and say, no, I've got a solid top 20, and you're like, nah, I've got 10.
It might happen. It's happened before.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, that has been 121 in Flux. So just to wrap up the show then, thank you very much for watching and listening. We appreciate it. If you would like to tell us what you think, of course, of the Batman movies, maybe rank the Batman movies if you want in the comments, you can do that. Like, subscribe. That supports us. But of course, supporting us even more than that is go over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month. You get these in Flux reviews a week early at the $1, as well as some other stuff. You get bonus streams per month. Streams After Midnight, the horror movie podcast that me and Tim do. So go and have a look at that, see if there's anything that strikes your fancy. You can also buy merchandise from our Spreadshirt stores. There's a US and a UK store. There's links in the description to both, with t-shirts and hoodies and all that kind of thing, if you want to have a look at that. And then otherwise, I think that's us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, guys. And if you can get it, it's always nice to have diplomatic immunity. What does Bane sound like in diplomatic immunity? Diplomatic immunity!